Welcome back to the United Stand. I'm Terry Flewers from the Football Terrace. I hope you're all well and good. Hit the like button first of all. Make sure you're subscribing. Get the bell notification button turned on as well. It's really important to us that you get that done. Loads to talk about this evening when it comes to Manchester United. We actually won a game, which feels so nice to win a game, to come and speak to you all, the biggest Manchester United community in the world, after winning a game. But we're looking at INEOS, who are backing Ruben Amorim. So they're backing Ruben Amorim. They're fully behind him. And I, for one, am very, very happy to hear that. And we'll go into more detail as to why. There's the Garnacho apology from a lot of Manchester United fans as well, where there was a lot of frustration after the game of him walking down to the tunnel, blanking the bench, blanking the coach. A lot of that has been debunked, and we're going to delve into that as well. We want to get your opinions on tonight's show also about Roy Keane. Roy Keane going in on Bruno Fernandes, that he's not a good enough captain, that he's a faker, that he doesn't try hard enough, that he essentially is a charlatan and shouldn't be a Manchester United player. Do you agree with our former captain, our former treble-winning captain, Roy Keane? Plus, we're also going to take a look at Osimhen to Manchester United, a big link to him today as well up front. We want your thoughts, your opinions, whether it's in the live chat, whether it's the super chats that come in. I want to thank everybody ahead of time for them. Or if you're watching the playback, get your comments in below. We'd love to see what it is that you have got to say. What I also like to do on my shows as well is ask you where you're watching from. So let me know whereabouts in the world. You can let us know the country or the city or the town. Don't put your address on, though. That'd be a bit mad. But let us know where you're watching from around the world. I'm just adjusting my cushion because I'm getting old, which means I get bad backs and stuff like that. Hi to, who's tuning in here, I can see. Hi to Rick. Hi to Ansu Fati. Obviously not the real Ansu Fati, but welcome to you. Sly Cooper says Terry Bridge. There we go. Rogue Punisher, hello to you as well. I see Patrick Lynch, member here, and a member on my channel, The Football Terrace, as well. Big up to yourself. Big up to yourself. And Paul Thomas here, who's been a member for 14 months, says, wait, you're not Kev. No, I did last Thursday's show, and Mark's asked me to come back this week and do it again. So I was more than happy to come and do that. So I'm not too sure what else is going on at United Stand, but yeah, I'm here. I'm here this week. We're here to talk Manchester United. And the first story that I want to start on today is the situation with Ruben Amorim. I'm just going to get it up in front of me because I can read this verbatim from Simon Stone, who says here, those responsible for making key decisions at Manchester United are adamant and have faith in Ruben Amorim, and it's very, very high. He says they feel what is currently being endured amounts to teething problems with a coach trying to implement a new system. Now, you may like or dislike Ruben Amorim and what he's trying to achieve, but I, for one, am glad to read this. And the reason why I'm glad to read it is simply because I think it's so important. It doesn't matter whether it's Amorim and his style, whether it was Diego Simeone, whether it could have been Antonio Conte, Inzaghi, De Zerbi. The club need to pick a way of football that they not only want to play today, but what they want to build for, what they want to create a squad for Ruben and beyond him. I think that's such an important part of modern day football. When you look at Liverpool, you look at the transition between Klopp and Arne Slot. The reason that has been so seamless is the attributes, the profiles that Slot likes to work with was almost a perfect match with what Liverpool already had. They've got a winning culture. They've got a great structure, wonderful people running the football club. And the transition has been almost seamless. Man United need to do something similar. Now, I'm not thinking about the end of Amorim in this particular moment, but when you build, there has to be long-term planning. So for me, I like reading this news that they're fully behind him. They understand there's going to be teething problems, because my biggest fear relating to INEOS would be that we continue the same mistakes that the Glazers, that Woodward did, which is every 12, 18 months, we rip up a little project that we've started, we go in a completely new direction, and we further build this Frankenstein, mismatched, completely unbalanced squad. So for me, just reading that, very, very happy indeed Very, very happy indeed to read that. We need to get behind him. The club has started this footballing philosophy change. It started slowly. It hasn't been the greatest. We all understand that. But he now needs players. He needs players to come in to help elevate his system to take Man United to a new level. And I'd just be really fearful if we were looking to go in a new direction already. So it's not about me being married to Ruben Amorim, 100% behind his ideas. It's more about looking at, I think our biggest mistake, if we just put the financial things aside for a moment, the debt, the dividends, etc., the biggest mistake regarding the football in the last 12 years has been not having a fixed style of play where the underrates right through to the first team have a synergy. We've been missing that, and it's so important in the modern day game. We still to this day have LVG players bought for LVG and his way of managing at the club. And to think he's been gone, the best part of a decade, is absolutely crazy. Now, some players for different managers can work in different systems. That's absolutely true. But I still think we need to make sure that we are backing that. And Ray here, Ray S, says, I believe in Amorim, back him, and he will succeed. Do you know what, for me, I feel that one of the biggest problems that Man United have had in the last decade or so is we're too interested on what's on everybody else's plates. You might have ordered the steak, egg, and chips, and it looks nice. But then you see someone who ordered a Sunday roast or someone had a nice burger. Wow, they got the rack of ribs. That looks amazing. And we're so focused on what everybody else is doing, our own food goes to waste. It gets a bit cold. You know, it's a bit sport now because I was so focused on what everybody else was up to. At the moment, it's very, very popular in the Premier League to play direct football with lots of speed, athleticism, power, and pace in the middle of the field. You're seeing the Bournemouths, the Nottingham Forest be lauded for it. Pep Guardiola's talking about the evolution of the game. By and large, that's how we were playing for 2.5 years under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But nobody wanted it. Everybody was against it. Because there's too many Man United fans, I think, that... And what's the word I would use to describe a lot of these Manchester United fans is that they essentially go with what is what's popular. Like a conformist, it would be the word I would use. Okay, so the popular opinion is to say we need a set style of play, possession-based football, lots of little patterns. That's fashionable. If I have that opinion, I'm safe because there's so many other... Safety in numbers. There's so many other people that think it. I'm not going to be looked at as strange. Well, actually, what we should have done under Ollie, and maybe this as a club, it might have meant replacing him, but keep buying better and better players that can play in that brand of football. Maybe you upgrade on the head coach or manager, but we should have continued in that vein. But we didn't do it. We went and bought some players that were signed for commercial reasons. Then we kind of went to Ten Hag, who bought players for his Ajax-style system and then never tried to implement that, and it all fell apart again. So for me, and to your point, Ray, it's not about me backing Ruben Amorim directly, but it's more about picking a project, a footballing style, and just sticking with it. Adaptations. Okay, maybe we were going for too many players that were young. We had some older talent in there. Maybe there's a few too many older players we've bought. We're going to try and bring some youngsters through. But the footballing profile needs to remain the same. And if we stick to that for 4 or 5 years, invest correctly, buy well and sell good, there's a very, very strong possibility, Ray, as you say, that trophies can be won. Okie Red here said he's watching from Oklahoma. Big up yourself over there in Oklahoma. Patrick Lynch says it's in everyone's interest to pick a manager and properly back them for a period of time. We're a decade into a downturn, more than a decade now, it's 12 years. I just hope INEOS and the fans have the patience to carry out a rebuild. I agree. And even if you get 2 years in and the squad's looking good, but the manager isn't right, you can still continue in that vein. You can still find another top-level manager that looks at the profiles we have and the direction we're going in, who says, I love that, let me come in. What we don't need to do is bring someone in that goes, right, I want to rip it all up and start again. That has been one of the biggest roads to ruin for us. This here from T-Jazz says, hello, Terry. You're a welcome addition to the United stand. Keep up the great work. Glory, glory, Man United. Thank you very, very much for those kind words. I really do appreciate it. And Anders Christiansen, one of the members here, a member for 7 months on the United stand, says, hi and good evening. Watching from Norway, do you think we can get rid of Shaw, Mount, Casemiro this summer, or will they stay out their contracts? I think we can get rid of Shaw and Cass. I do think that is plausible. We may end up having to still pay some of Cass's wages as an example, but I don't think it's beyond the realms of possibility. We actually had a very good summer of exits last year. It was the most amount of income we'd ever generated through the sales. You've seen what we've been able to do so far with Anthony. Anthony's stock's rising as an example. Rashford's done quite well so far at Villa and will fetch some money. So we'll be able to use that as a case in point when talking to other clubs when it comes to certain players. And even when it comes to Shaw, we've got injury problems. But there's loads of other leagues where maybe the weather's warmer, the pace isn't as quick, that he'll be absolutely fine in. And I'm actually not too sure how long Luke Shaw's got left on his contract, but I think we can get rid of a couple of those players. I personally wouldn't be too worried about that. I want to thank you all for welcoming me to this community. It means a great deal. If you want to go and check me out, though, and the content we do on the Football Terrace, a little different to here on the United stand. We talk about the traditional top 6 clubs, a lot of panel shows, a lot of sort of pre-recorded content and reactions to the media and to pundits. Go search and check out the Football Terrace. And don't do it now. Do it at the end of the show. Keep watching. But just search the Football Terrace. Go and give us a sub over there as well. That would be amazing. And turn on the bell notification buttons there as well. This here from Ali P. Ali P says, hey, Terry, great to see you back and enjoy seeing what you do on TFT. So thank you very much. I appreciate you coming to watch the Terrace as well. Completely agree within supporting Amorim and the style for a long time. One of the reasons that I'm supportive of this, and I don't disagree. So a friend of mine, Danny, a really good guy, top United fan, really nice lad, doesn't like the direction with Ruben Amorim. And I can get on board with not liking it. It's just we've decided to do it. So we've started it. Let's finish it. That's what's really, really important for me. We've begun, so let's finish it. Have you ever been to someone's house and they're always starting a project? There's a bedroom that's half painted. There's a bathroom where half the tiles are on the wall. A couple of the rooms don't have carpet in. And there are some men do. Women would never do this. It's a man thing. They start these projects around the house and they never get them done. But you can end up making your house look awful. That's what Man United have been. We start all these little projects and these ideas and we see nothing through to the end. We see nothing through to the end. It's a bit like my tattoo. I started this before lockdown. It's not finished. Look, it's all got to be done. And it's ended up now 2025. I've got to get it sorted. It looks a bit strange when it's up close because it's not finished and I need to get it done. So yes, I need to practice what I preach, really, don't I? This is from Mystic that says, you're filling me with so much positivity. Look, I appreciate that. I'm a realist as well, okay? So maybe this is where we go back down to earth. Manchester United, it's going to be a long and winding road. And some of those meanders are going to feel painful. There's others that will feel amazing. And we've had that in a short period already. Look how we felt when the performance away against Liverpool. Look at the jubilation when we beat City and beat Arsenal. I felt a tremendous sense of pride last night. An amazing... How many games have we played? It doesn't matter that it's Ipswich. I saw us last year against the Sheffield Uniteds and the Burnleys get outplayed at home and peppered. It was really nice to have a whole half of football where we didn't concede an opportunity. Scored a goal. Got the 3 points. But there's been some horrible lows in this period too. And I think that will continue for a period of time still. But I just don't see things as bad as others maybe. Or it could just be my general outlook on life. DV here says, hey, better looking Goldbridge back again. Listen, I'm not going to comment on that. It's not for me to say who is and who is not good looking on anyone's platform, let alone Mark's himself. But for me, thank you very much for being so welcoming, as always. Now, one of the other stories that I wanted to get your opinions on before we get into the Garnacho one, because I've got a lot to say on that. I've got a lot to say on Garnacho, and I think there's quite a bit to speak about when it comes to Roy Keane and Bruno Fernandes as well. But I wanted to get your views on the link to Victor Osimhen. Now, I rate him massively. I think he's a player. He's a good goal scorer. I love the age profile as well. 26, turning 27. I like it. I think it fits. We need some people that are experienced. He's played in multiple countries. He's got the speed and the power that we need. He's technical ability, he's finishing ability. Within that, he's brilliant. He's won league titles. And it appears he wants us. It appears he wants to become a Manchester United player. The salary is going to be high. You're not going to sign a player like him and pay him anything less than £250,000 a week. But I'm really up for it. I really love the idea of this signing. I really, really do. I really, really do love the idea of this signing. Now, my number one choice is Victor Gyökeres. I would like to think that Man United are looking at 2 or 3 of these players at the same time, because you always want to have backups and options should one decide to go elsewhere or one picks up an injury. You've got to have a few plates spinning. What do you make of the links to Victor Osimhen today? Looks like he wants United. There are some outlets stating he's a number 1 priority. You may or may not believe that publication by and large, but I'd love to get your opinions on it in the comment section now or in the live chat. Is this one of the right signings for us, age-wise, quality-wise? If so, great. If not, who would your alternative be? I would love to know who your alternative is here. This here from Bradist. I am dyslexic, so some of the names I will not get right. I apologize ahead of time. It's not me being rude. It's just my brain. Well, Tom Davis actually says Osimhen equals mercenary. Break that down, bro. Break that down. What about him do you think makes him a mercenary? What is it you've read? What is it you've seen that makes you think it? This here from Krug Lush Kush says, yes, yes, yes. I agree with you. Michael Ade here says Osimhen with loads of fire emojis. So he wants him. JM42 says Gyökeres or nothing will be good. Okay, nothing will be good is what you mean by that. Look, we need someone. I like Gyökeres, but I do think he's very good. Stephen actually says that Osimhen is a mercenary. I wouldn't take him. I'd love you to do me a favor. Expand on that. Explain it in more detail. So I like knowing what people think, but I say this a lot on the football terrace, and I'll say it here. I've been told to speak freely. I'm always more intrigued about not what people say, but why. So it's great you think he's a mercenary. Well, it's not. I disagree with you, right? But you're entitled to think that, right? Why? The why is the crux of the conversation. So let me know if you think he's a mercenary, why that is. I'd love to break that down and go through it with you on here today. Terry Tibbs says, Goldbridge got better looking. Was it plastic surgery? No. This is what Constantine says. He went, here's a take I'll get abuse for. Ruben Amorim's record at Man United is comparable to Neville's at Valencia. Let that sink in a minute. Yeah, it probably is. I haven't looked at what the records are, but there probably is a comparison. And if you're also somebody that doesn't like the style of football, doesn't really rate Ruben Amorim, then I completely understand why you would think, let's move on. Let's just cut our losses now early before any money has been invested. I don't agree with you, but I can see the logic to that thought process. There's also a part of me that thinks, is Ruben Amorim as tactically inept as Gary Neville stated he was? And that's really key. Gary Neville himself was very open about he would play a game and a manager would change a system 2 or 3 times and he would sit there and just think to himself, I've got no idea. We saw last night as an example, and in many other games, Ruben Amorim say, right, we're down a man. And most of us probably went, why is he taking Garni off? Why is Garnacho gone off the pitch? Got it right. We didn't dominate the ball after that point, but we dominated the game. We didn't allow ourselves to be penetrated. We scored. It was perfect. So yes, the points tallies and the point win percentage might be fairly comparable, but what I've seen from Ruben Amorim, he's a far more capable manager than Gary Neville ever was and never would likely to be. And that's not a dig at Neville. I just think it's the truth of that matter. Parji Sung here says, heard I'm your favorite player. Thanks, Timmy. Firstly, it's Terry, Parji Sung. Secondly, I'm going to burst your bubble, mate. I loved you as a player, but no, you're not my favorite. My favorite United player, it's hard. It changes a lot because I love so many old players. Beckham, we're from the same part of East London, born in the same hospital. So there was the David Beckham. I love Rooney, although he's the same age as me. Massive Michael Carrick fan. I think Michael Carrick is probably the most underrated central midfield player in English football history, at least in the Premier League era anyway. This here from Odmar, who says, hello from the Faroe Islands. That's a 24 months membership chat. Thank you very, very much for tuning in from the Faroe Islands there. That is amazing. Dante Ramsey says, what should be the priority at this club? The debt or competing? Is it even possible to do both at the same time? It is possible to do both at the same time. So Man United's wage bill has already been reduced by anywhere between 30 to 50 million the last time I checked. So it was about 30 the last time I looked. It's probably down even more now with the loans, etc. Whether people like the cost-cutting measures or not, whether they agree with them or they're completely against them, there's talk that we're saving around 40 to 50 million pound a year in those savings as well. So if the wage bill is lower, if the expenditure is decreased, and you're increasing ticket prices as an example, there is a train of thought that would suggest you're going to start making more profit. With that profit, you can buy players. We need to also sell better as well. That's a really key component for us. Football fans have got to drop this notion of it's not my money, so I don't care how much it costs or I don't care how little we make, just get rid of them. That's a long-term in a long-term basis, that strategy is it will cut you. You're burning the candle at both ends. It's bad for you. So for me, what I would hope to see us do with the savings we're making and the additional money we're charging fans is invest in the squad, because we need to become a better football team. But at the same time, I'd like to see us taking dents out of that capital so the interest payments drop. So again, we make more money. So you should, therefore, if you're making those cuts, you're increasing the prices, you're selling players better, you're lowering the debt each year, hopefully improving on the field of play. Theoretically, you're in a position where exponentially you're making more money each year, which means you could pay a bigger amount of capital off. That is what I hope the club does. It is doable at the same time, but it's going to take a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, and they've got to get a lot of decisions right in the transfer window. They can't keep making mistakes like we did with Dan Ashworth. That simply cannot happen. So great question, Dante. Really, really is. Sally here. Sally Devil Red 7 says, hi, everyone. Apologies. I'll try again. Check out Terry on his channel, The Football Terrace. Give him a like, and preferably after the stream. Thank you, Sally. I really do appreciate the super chat and encouraging everybody to check out my channel, The Football Terrace. Means a great deal to me. Very, 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 very much. Very, very much so. Does that mean a great deal to me that you have said that? United Trey says, who's this guy? Is that really the real United Trey? Is that the real? That can't be the real United Trey. I don't think it is. It might be, but I doubt it. I doubt that it is. Let me go and check, right? Because you can click on someone's. Where's he at here? Maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. I'm going to click. Oh, it doesn't let me do it because it's not my channel. So I can't. How do you check if you can go to someone's channel? I thought you could click on the little stars, and it would tell you. But there we go. You know who I am. If it's the real United Trey. We spoke before, so there we go. There we go. But still, the Glazers dry us 60 million from that loan every year. That's from Anders. Yeah, listen, they do. And that again, I'm only answering the super chat. Could it be done? Yes. Will it be done is a very different question. And it's one of the things about paying down the debt. Of course, I want INEOS to pay it off, or the Glazers, or God, or anybody, Joe Pesci, somebody pay the debt off. Great. But does that guarantee that all that newfound profitability comes to the players, the club, investment, people get the jobs back? Or could it be that the Glazers start taking more dividends, right? So if they're going to start taking more money out of the club, I'd almost rather that not happen. I'd almost rather give it to a bank than give it to the Glazers. So that's why I feel like a lot of open and honest conversations have to happen surrounding this situation, because otherwise you can find yourself in a little bit of trouble. That can definitely happen. Andrew here says, I'm a Brit living in Florida and a friend who is odd. Fair enough. Fair enough. Terry's got more trophies than Spurs. Yes, I do. Here anyway. We were talking about that earlier on the Top 6 show. And we went on to like Real Madrid website, Man United website, where we have all of our honours. Tottenham's is hilarious, mate. Tottenham literally have friendly trophies on their honours page. There's one that's called the Costa del Rey Cup. They've got the Norwich Hospital Cup on their website, on their honours page. They're amazing. Dan and Son Adventures. Hope you're well, Dan. He says, any more news on the protests? I haven't seen anything new personally, but I thought my understanding was it's going to be before the Arsenal game. I could be wrong, but I thought it was going to be before the Arsenal game. So I hope they go ahead. I'll support as best I can. Then I want to see more tangible action after that point. Part G Sung says, so you hate me. I guess fans really forgot about me. No, I didn't say I hated you. Don't be so polarized, my friend. Don't be so polarized. That's crazy. Cole here says, going back to the comparison of Gary and Ruben has proven himself at Sporting. That's also very true. I didn't even expand onto that, but you're right. He proved himself at Sporting. What he did there was brilliant. Gary Neville couldn't have done that as a manager. Not a chance. Not a chance. There is more chance of hell freezing over than that being done. Bradley here says, how many players do you think we need in the summer? And who specifically do you think we need? Plus, how many of these players do you realistically think we can get? Bradley, great super chat. Thank you very much for that. How do I say this? Wow. How many players? I'm not a fan of buying more than 6. I think when you start getting towards 7s and 8s, I feel it's really hard to integrate them. We've seen Chelsea buy mass numbers, and I think it creates an imbalance. I can't think of many examples where a team bought 7, 8, 9, 10 players and it worked. We probably also don't have the money for that either. So I think if we could get ourselves 5 or 6 players, that's important. I think we need to look at improving each area. I think a goalkeeper is essential. Onana, I was so excited about Onana, but he makes so many terrible mistakes or bad judgment calls. I think we need to add... I'll come back to centre-backs in a minute. I think we need another fullback. I think Dorgu, I know he made the mistake last night and got sent off, and I'm saying this, but I think there's a player in there. We need someone on the right-hand side. Delo is just not it, and there is nobody else. So I think we actually probably need 2 fullbacks. We probably need 2 fullbacks. Dorgu's quite versatile, can play both sides, but maybe someone else who plays left and someone on the right, I think it's going to be important. So we're already now up to, say, 3 players. We need a striker, as we've mentioned. There we're on 4. I think we need a player like Kenda in the kind of 10 roles. So now we're on 5. And we've got to add something into the middle. We need good technical ability, excellent technician, great passing range. But we need someone that's got power, strength, acceleration, speed. So that takes you up to number 6. Then probably you're going to try and look to promote a couple of players as well. So maybe a couple of academy players. For now, let's just say Obi and Kone as an example. But yes, any more than that, I think it's hard to integrate them all, especially if they're coming from abroad. I also would like us to look at a couple of players that are maybe already in the Premier League. And I'm not someone that totally believes in the Prem-proven theory. But what I think is important about that is typically people haven't got to emigrate. Like if you're 21 years old and you've got to emigrate and move countries, that in itself is a massive challenge, huge challenge. Joining the biggest club in England, the pressure that comes with it to boot, trying a new league out. I think you've got to try and get that balance as correct as possible. So I'm just looking for my glass. I've got 2 in here and one of them is empty. So really good question there, Bradley. Thank you very much for that indeed. But yeah, I think we need to try and strengthen every area. Centre-backs is the interesting one because although I think we need more centre-backs, I'm not too sure whether it's the priority, but some of you may disagree with that. Some of you may disagree and think that needs to be an area that we heavily focus on as well. So maybe we do need more players. We won a Farmers League. He won a Farmers League in Portugal. We've all seen how that goes. I don't disrespect the league in that way. It's not my personal way of doing things, Constantine. But what I would say to challenge you, I also saw how good Sporting looked in the Champions League this season until he left. They look very, very good indeed. I always remember, I'm going to take this to a player example. When Erling Haaland was linked to United and everybody else, and he was scoring goals for Salzburg, you heard this, yeah, but it's Salzburg, it's the Austrian league. What does that mean? And then he was doing it in the Champions League. He went to Germany, and this doesn't really get said as much now, but it was 3 or 4 years ago. German tax, German tax, German tax. He was doing it in the Champions League. And I think that you can use the Champions League barometer here to really assess the quality of Ruben Amorim. And there's a really good coach in there, in my personal opinion. Patrick Dorgu in the comments said, let's be real, I am already the best left back in the Premier League. Big up yourself, my friend. You were looking great. It's just silly tackle. Silly tackle. No bad intent. 3-game ban, though, which is unfortunate. I did feel as a United fan last night when that happened. I thought, where's the luck? Sometimes you want a little bit of luck as a fan. And I know that the players have to make their own luck. Sometimes you can force errors from rivals. But as a fan, you're just sitting there watching, and I'm thinking, how's your luck? How's your luck? So frustrating, really, to see that. It was from my perspective. But yes, on the Osimhen thing, listen, looking at the comments coming in here, lots of different views, some for it, some against it. I'm reading the comment section now. This here from Michael, he says he's young and still learning about Dorgu. Absolutely. And I'm not condemning the young man. He made an error. He's learned from that error. He'll be back soon, and he'll be back in the team. I'm really excited about him. I really am. I think he's a real player. Chippo here. Chippo says, Kenda is fantastic, young lad, a marvel to watch. Yeah, we need some players that can beat a man as well. Someone that they're in a cul-de-sac, they can get out of it. I want a couple of players in this team that when they're running at an opponent, you get excited again. When we had Martial and Rashford sort of at their pomp a few years ago with us, it was exciting when we attacked. And I feel we've kind of lost a little bit of that, really. And I would like to see some more of that. Now, moving on slightly from potential players coming in, what are your thoughts on the situation with Roy Keane today? I don't know if you saw the clip where Roy Keane, Ian Wright talking about Bruno Fernandes. And Ian Wright, an Arsenal legend, not a Man United legend, but an Arsenal legend, defended Bruno, saying you can't put Bruno into that category with the bluffers and the pretenders, the players that don't work hard. And I'm paraphrasing a lot of what I'm going to say here, but Roy Keane went in that he's not a good enough captain, said that he pretends to press, he pretends to work hard, he's nowhere near the Man United standard. Really went in hard on Bruno to a point where he snapped really at Ian Wright and was screaming at him. And I haven't really seen Roy Keane like that for a long time on camera, like his playing days. You know, the way he used to surround a ref and get right in his face. And he went in. But I couldn't help but sort of look at it and think, is that fair? Is that a little over the top? There's been a lot of bluffers, a lot of bad signings, a lot of poor quality at Man United in the last 12 years. But is Bruno Fernandes really one of the problems? There's been times where his form has been bad. I've criticized him on many of occasions. In the last 9 months, my train of thought has been at a point where I felt that if his form didn't improve, if his quality didn't shine through again, then it would be the right time to cash in on him, because nobody is bigger than the football club. But I look at this last 3 or 4 months, and he's had some poor games because he's entitled to. Even the greatest of all time have poor games. But I felt that he has been one of the very few shining lights again for us. And I felt the level of criticism, the sort of vim and the sort of venom in the voice of Roy Keane was a little over the top. And I say that because, look, Roy Keane was a legend and a better football player for Man United than Bruno Fernandes. There's no doubt about that. But I also feel that, and maybe this is why Roy Keane didn't make it hugely successful as a manager. I don't think he recognizes that the situation at Manchester United is completely different to when he was there. He walked in when Fergie had his feet under the table and was building something beyond special. The standards were in place, the culture was there, and it was easier to maintain it. Now, I get some people don't like Bruno Fernandes because he does come across a little whingy, a little moany, as people have alluded to before, and it can frustrate people the way he kind of behaves. At the same time, I remember growing up and people had an issue with the way Cantona and the way Rooney behaved, because they could be quite violent at times and very, very aggressive. And some people didn't like that. It's just Bruno Fernandes's personality. When you listen to anybody talk about him, from his sporting days, from the Portugal squad, the Man United squad, nobody speaks about him being this petulant, bad leader that doesn't care. In fact, it's the complete opposite. And I think it's important to understand that. I just felt, and maybe that show was recorded before yesterday's game, but Bruno, when his position was changed, which helped us because we actually got the ball to him against Everton, we don't come back in that game without him. I felt last night, the way he led that team, the way he organized that team, some of the way he put his body on the line was phenomenal. And I personally don't believe that Bruno Fernandes is a bluffer. There are times where I actually think he can work too hard, where he'll press by himself and he'll actually leave a hole or space in the team, and he shouldn't. But I don't think he's a bluffer. I don't think he hides. I don't think he's kind of going out of his way to not help Manchester United. Now, that doesn't mean I think he's the greatest player of all time, the best player in the world, untouchable, undroppable, and beyond criticism. There's no kind of polarization in this for me. I just felt as though Roy Keane was going well over the top. I thought he was going well over the top and could have behaved a lot better, in my humble opinion. Or not behaved better, but could have been a bit more balanced in his personal opinion. I would love to get your take on what Roy Keane said and did. I really would. I really would. D. Asher here says he's not very disciplined because he moans. I think positionally he can be disciplined at times. He does have moments where he's ill-disciplined, but at the same time, let's not pretend like Roy Keane wasn't ill-disciplined. Roy Keane put us in trouble and hot water a lot of times because of his ill-discipline. But I felt that if you took that away from Roy Keane, he wouldn't have been the player that he is. You know, I always thought with Wayne Rooney, when he lost his aggression in his mid-20s, I don't ever think he was as good. Some players need to kind of keep that dog in them, as it were. This year says, thank God most United fans wanting Amorim out were not around when Fergie had a struggling start to his career. I hear you. Steve here says, never seen Terry before, but he is really good. We'll definitely check out his channel. Thank you very much, Steve. I didn't know I was going to say that until I read it. Sorry. Stephen here said, Bruno is not as good as it said. He is undisciplined and a Hollywood player, always a glory hunter, not the team player we desperately need. Again, I saw a team player last night. I saw a team player against Everton. Yes, he tries to create the chances, and yes, he tries to make us score goals, and there are times where he gets it wrong. But I feel we over-egg that. I think we over-egg and overcompensate it. And do you want to know why I believe that? When Bruno was the first player ever where the stat of loss of possession was being thrown about, oh my God, look how bad it is. Averaging 20 times a game, he's losing the ball. Too many Hollywood passes, too many speculative passes. Why is he trying to do this? Keep the possession more, keep the possession. It's because the team wasn't getting to the level that we wanted to be. But the behavior of KDB in the Man City team was almost identical. He was losing the possession, similar level to Bruno Fernandes. Trent Alexander-Arnold, who is, yes, a right back, but was one of the main playmakers at Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp, was also losing the ball 20 to 30 times a game. But he was tasked with, when he saw the opening and the opportunity, to put the ball into dangerous areas that could lead to goals or directly create them. I've never been against that element of Bruno Fernandes. When he makes a mistake, I'll call it out. Oh, wrong ball, or you overhit it, or you undercooked it. Poor. The reason that we over-focus on Bruno, in my personal opinion, and this is in response to Stephen Anderson, is that the rest of the team hasn't been good enough either. An example I always give is this. Jesse Lingard used to get a lot of stick about not being Man United standard. Even Rashford got that from some people. But if those players were 15 years older and came through in the Fergie era, they'd have been important squad members. But because we were winning trophies, nobody would have cared. We all like John O'Shea and Wes Brown. But if they were our main centre-backs now, we'd like them less than when we had them at the club. If Nicky Butt, who's very good, by the way, was our main central midfield player now, we would like him less than we did during his time at the club because the team isn't as good. Equally, we have players like a Ruud van Nistelrooy who would have scored a lot less goals if he was playing in this team. By the way, he'd score far more than Rasmus and Xerxes, but he wouldn't have had the ball fed to him as regularly. He wouldn't have scored as many goals, and we'd have been moaning, what else did he do? Why doesn't he get involved more in the play? Why doesn't he do this? Why doesn't he do that? And I think that we sometimes forget that as fans, that we've had players in the past who maybe weren't the complete number 9 that could do every job, like a Wayne Rooney. We've had Ruud van Nistelrooy as an example. Very good footballer, by the way. He wasn't a dead footballer. He had a good touch. He had some skill, but he wasn't a Wayne Rooney. But because we had a team that was constructed in a way where we got the best out of Ruud, because we had the creativity from the Giggs and the Scholeses and the David Beckhams of this world, the Teddy Sheringhams and the... Sheringham might have gone, actually. Maybe we're still there. But Solskjaer is playing off of him. You didn't need Ruud to do all the other stuff. The problem is with Man United, it goes back to having an unbalanced squad. So what can sometimes happen is that the flaws of player A are protruding. You see them more because of all the holes in the squad. And I think sometimes we forget that. I think we really, really do. Now, that doesn't mean, by the way, you don't scrutinize players for making mistakes, but you also have to look at the context and the situation that United find themselves in. I'm better than my evil twin. That is from Matt Silverladder. Go Liverpool. Big up yourself, Matt. Hope you are well. He recognizes it, Terry. He just won't give allowances for it. That's from Ali P that's talking about the circumstances at the clubs. And that's why I think Roy Keane could have been a very good manager if he would have. Sometimes the greatest players, especially if they were at great clubs, struggle to become managers in a lot of circumstances because they just can't get their heads into the mind space of a team that doesn't have the financial backing or the structure built into it that they inherited. You got to remember, this man was managed by Clough and then by Fergie. And then he went to a team in Scotland that's always in a 2-horse race or a 1-horse race in Celtic. Maybe he didn't suffer enough adversity in terms of, if he'd have spent 5-6 years at a club in absolute pandemonium with a bang average manager or two, maybe his view on things would be different now. I think there's some validity to that. I really, really do. John Boy Sykes says, yes, bro, good to see you on the channel. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And thank you for the super chat. Danny H says, remember, no one else wanted the captaincy. Bruno stood up and took it. So calling him a bluffer is a bigger joke than Roy Keane is. Dean, put in a super chat of $1.99. Didn't say anything, but thank you very much for that donation. This here from John. I think he means Dorgu. Sorry. I don't know. Sorry, no, it doesn't say Dorgu. It says, do you? There we go. My dyslexia. Do you regret saying that we should have got rid of De Gea? Great question. Short answer, no. But I love this question. That's why I've had to sit up and move forward. You know when people play FIFA and they concede and they sit forward? That's my mood now. I like that question. Thank you, John. If my car has a problem with it, so the problem in my engine, it's rattling and I'm worried it's going to break down completely. If I take it to a garage and they say they've fixed it and they haven't, and they actually make my car worse, the mistake isn't trying to fix the problem. The mistake was taking it to the wrong garage. And that's how I view the David de Gea situation. We needed to move on from him. The mistake is that we haven't bought a better goalkeeper than him, or got a goalkeeper as good as De Gea in his pomp. So that's what I don't get involved in the David de Gea Onana conversation. I think we were right to move on from him. We've just bought a bust. I wouldn't go back to De Gea now either, because he started making, listen, he's still better than Onana, but he started making terrible mistakes. He couldn't play out from the back, and you need that at times. We just bought the wrong goalkeeper, but the need to change was still there. So, yeah, that's my view on it. Great question, though. Really, really like that question. I really do. Mourinho won a treble with Porto 22 years ago, was that? Jesus Christ, it is, isn't it? Excuse my blasphemy, but yeah, wow. If anyone thinks the Portuguese league is a farmers' league, I think they should stop watching football, is what Alex Z has got to say here. Ray here says, wasn't Jose from the same farmers' league? Yeah, another comment as well. There's some really good players that come from that league. I wouldn't call it a farmers' league myself. I think it's a little bit disrespectful. Maybe for a little bit of banter if you're winding somebody up, but not in a serious conversation. I wouldn't do that. D he says, watching you from the USA. Big up yourself over there in the States. Appreciate you tuning in on this. It's Thursday. It is Thursday. This Thursday evening. I honestly get confused with what day of the week it is sometimes. Solid Blake says, spot on, Terry. Thank you very much indeed for that. Where's my drinks? Keep moving them. Thank you. Brit Ace 1 says, you make no sense. Oh, I'm sorry I don't. What I'd love for you to do, though, I love criticism. I love challenge when it comes to my football opinion, as long as it ain't personal. What did I say that didn't make sense? And maybe I can give you more clarity, more of an understanding, delve into it a little bit deeper. So at least, and I would like to say to people, I'm never trying to convince you that I'm right and you're wrong. It's not really my motivation. I just want you to see my logic. And as long as you see my logic, I'm grand. I don't care whether you agree with me or not. I want you to understand where I'm coming from at the very least. That's always the view for things on me. JS says bad take. Sorry. I don't think it is a bad take. I don't think it's a bad take to say that we needed to improve on De Gea. We haven't improved on him. The mistake was buying someone worse. Because if we had improved on him and we now had a better goalkeeper than De Gea of 2 years ago, we'd have said we made the right decision. The decision to replace David de Gea isn't wrong. Who we replaced him with is. It needed to be done. I'm not going to rewrite that history. He was flagging, he was poor, and I think he needed to be moved on personally. Let's have a look at some more comments here. AJ says you make perfect sense. I appreciate it. What people normally mean when they say you make no sense is I don't agree with you. That's generally what people say and do, but I love the challenge. And if you think what I'm saying is logically flawed, tell me. I'm always open. I'm not precious about my footballing opinion being challenged at all. Now, the other story that I wanted to touch on, and by the way, over 4,000 people watching, which is great. But you've got to hit that like button, people. Get that done now. Was the Garnacho circumstance that happened yesterday. I didn't realize any of this was going on. We were maybe 45 minutes, maybe even more, maybe an hour or so into the match reaction on the channel. And we were covering all the games last night, so they're long shows. And a few United fans come on and said, Terry, we've got to speak about Garnacho. So, what about him being subbed off? No, what he did afterwards. And I thought, what's he done? And we all saw the clips of him coming off and just walking straight down to going to the tunnel and going to the dressing room. And my initial reaction was, that's poor. That's not the right behavior. Then you saw Amorim's comment, and and I've listened to him say it now, and I wondered why he mentioned Rashford at first. And then you kind of see that the journalists were trying to do up this whole, Garnacho walked off early, Garnacho being disrespectful, alluding to, are you going to drop him now because you've spoken about bad behaviors like he did about Rashford? And that's why anyone going, why is you mentioning Rashford? Because the journalists were trying to set him up. And Amorim gave the best answer possible. He just said, I'll speak to him later and I'll address it in the next press conference. Because Ruben Amorim had I nearly swore, it's not my channel, had no idea what he was talking about. Then we all saw the video footage and you're like, that's terrible. Then there's the Instagram post of him looking disappointed. And I still don't think he should have done that. But that Instagram post got the traction it did because of the story about him walking down to the dressing room early, blanking the manager, disrespecting his teammates and bench. And then I saw more footage. He comes off, says half a hug between him and the manager. And then he looks to the bench and points at his T-shirt, does this, and says, I'm going to go and change. Because obviously he's soaking wet, covered in mud. Probably didn't have anything ready for himself on the side because he wasn't expecting to come off that early in the game. And he went, maybe he needed to go bathroom as well. I don't know. But he kind of asked for permission and said what he was doing. As soon as I saw that, everything else was reframed for me. Everything else, even the Instagram post now is far less problematic Because what we know is that he wasn't trying to disrespect the manager, his teammates, the fans. You know, of course he was disappointed. And why would he not? I don't want him to not be disappointed. I want him to be frustrated that he came off. But I felt a mountain was made out of a molehill. The media did their usual thing. And it's the only thing they've got today, by the way. That and some fake story going around. Sir Jim's asking the players to wash their own kits. Can't believe that one actually got real traction. City fans really fell for that. But the Garnacho story, they were just trying to turn it into something it isn't. I hope that Ruben addresses it and just says, yeah, he went to change. And then he came out and he spoke and he was fine. I hope nothing more comes out of this. Because for me, I don't think Garnacho did a single thing wrong. He told everyone what he was doing. Very, very similar. I mean, Xerxes ran. But when Xerxes went to the dressing room, there was a reason for it that wasn't just, I want to get out of here because of the booing. There was something more to it than that. It wasn't because of that reason. But again, the media did this as well. Gary Neville started this. Do you remember when Gary Neville said, I can't believe Bruno's asking to be subbed off when we were getting battered by Liverpool? And he didn't. He didn't ask to come off. But Gary Neville said it. There was never any footage of it. And then a recording from the stadium came out. And people could tell by the minutes that he wasn't asking to come off. And that's what I think. This is where Man United fans, as angry as we are with INEOS, as angry as we are with the Glazers, as annoyed we might be with the results, this is where we have to stand up and control the narrative. This is where we have to stand up and back our football club against falsehoods. And now, if you don't like Garnacho, this is a chance to rub salt into the wounds, get one up on him, for me to sort of take some weird moral high ground and talk about standards. Now, this is where you back your football club against the media. This is where you stand up and protect one of your own against the lie. Whether you love Garnacho or you just think he's an average player and you don't mind if he's sold, that shouldn't change your mind about any of this. You should be backing him. 110% you should be behind him because there was a falsehood there. And I understand everybody being... When I saw the first bit of footage, it looked that way. And I did say, it's terrible. And I apologize for getting it wrong. But I only got it wrong because the media misled us. I only got it wrong because, and I'm telling you now, some people posted those videos. They edited them. Because I've seen the longer versions. And you see him asking to come off. They cut that bit out to get him. And some of those people were pretending to be Man United fans. They're in the stadium. Why would you do that to one of your own players? Why add any more toxicity to what is already a very tumultuous situation at the club? It makes no sense to do that. If you know the truth, that is. Poor behavior, in my personal opinion. It really, really was from everybody that sort of purposely pushed that out there. And fair play to everyone who has come out, addressed it, stood up for him, pushed back against it. For me, that's proper. That's really, really proper behavior. It really, really is. This here says, who else should United have bought instead of Onana? That's a really good question. At the time, I did look at Onana. I watched a lot of Inter Milan that season, and I was really impressed with him. And I really thought he was the right guy. There's been times where I've really liked Costa. Some people think Costa's got a mistake in him as well, though. But right now, if I'm looking, I like Sells at Nottingham Forest. Now, I know he's a little bit older, but there's a really, really solid player in him as an example. And I don't necessarily have all the answers. I really, really don't. It's not something I've spent too much time thinking about, if I'm being honest with you. But that's on the club to make sure that they buy better. And I hope that we go out and find better this summer, because I think that having a solid goalkeeper that instills confidence in that back line, I think will help the whole team get better. I really, really do. Alex here said, took Fergie a while to get a great goalkeeper. This is true. Poor old Jim Leighton. Who he brought, I think he brought him from Aberdeen. It did take him a while, and it's a really important position for us to get locked in and get fixed. It really, really is important. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Solid Blake here says, Viva Garnacho. Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, I'm not Garnacho's biggest fan. I'm also not like in the camp of he's rubbish and he's awful. He's got a lot of improving to do. But I will stand by him if there's lies being pushed, and then we know them to be lies. That's crazy to me. That's really, really crazy to me. Even our owners, I'm not massive on the Glazers. and INEOS have done things I don't like recently. But if somebody prints a story about them, for instance, when we keep hearing they're using taxpayer money to build the stadium, the taxpayers are giving them the money for the stadium. It's a lie. That's been absolutely quashed by the MPs and all the government officials involved. Taxpayer money will be used to rejuvenate the local area, which is exactly what taxpayer money should be used for. I went to do a BBC interview a few weeks back, genuinely, and I told them my stance on it all, emailed it through to them, and they came back and said, great, but would you argue for us that you're happy for taxpayer money to build the stadium? To which I said, but why are we even talking about that or debating it when it isn't happening? Yeah, we know it isn't happening, but we'd like someone to back the idea of it. So why would anybody back an idea of taxpayer money being spent on the stadium when it isn't happening? It doesn't make sense. It's crazy. And so I will stick up for the club against a lie, even if I don't like what they're doing, because I think it's important to do that as United fans. This year from Mr. Kieran O'Shaughnessy says, I think C-I-A-N Irish is Kieran. I could be wrong. I really could be wrong on that. I've got to Google it now because I've said it that I know what it means. Let me read this now in English. Am I right or am I wrong? No, it means endearing one. I want to know what the English name is. How is it pronounced? Someone let me know in the comment section how it's pronounced. But anyway, Mr. O'Shaughnessy, I can pronounce your surname a lot easier. Says the media might as well be pissing in the wind with the Garnacho situation. At nothing doing that type of thing pushes a false narrative. Yeah, no, you're 100% right, mate. It really, really does. It really, really does. It pushes that, and it's wrong. It really is wrong. I remember Mark and Beth singing the praises of Onana and he's one of the biggest flops of the Ten Hag era. I wouldn't call Mark and Beth out for that. I mean, I do see a lot of weird stuff online where you viewers have like voted on the score for Onana and Mark's getting crap for it. I always think, well, Mark didn't vote for that. That's like the player rating thing. I was really happy with Onana when he first came in. And in fairness, he had a lot of bad mistakes until Christmas last year. Then he kind of went through like a 9-month, 10-month period where he looked a lot better. I was like, actually, maybe I was harsh to judge him too soon. But he's gone back to that again. So, yeah, look, everyone, we all as fans make mistakes when I rate this signing. I'm really impressed with his start. Or I don't like this signing. I don't like how he plays. We've all been wrong. There's a litany. We've all got a list as long as our arm of player predictions that go wrong. I just don't think it's that important, really. Do I use Manscaped? Of course, mate. The dolphin's beak is clean. It's pronounced Keane. Oh, Keane, like from Westlife. Why did I think it was something else? Anyway. Thank you. I appreciate it for letting me know that. I got that one massively wrong, but there we go. Crossfire says, in your opinion, how long should Amorim get to prove himself? I'd like to see a big improvement next season. We can't continue like this. Yeah, I'd like to see a big improvement. How long? Look, I'm giving him right now. Again, my mind might change because and let me tell you why my mind might change. Should it come out that he's lost the dressing room, fallen out with the owners, then my mind will change, as an example. But I'd give him at least next season and the season after. That's where my head's at right now. But you are right. If next year we spend 250 million and we're sitting 18th in the league, there may need to be a different conversation. Maybe he isn't the right guy, as an example. But I think he needs to be given some time. We're completely changing the way we play football, the mentality at the club, the culture at the club. We're changing so many things at once. There was never going to be this sort of this quick win. And I think not enough football fans are either understanding or willing to kind of reflect on the volume of changes coming into the football club. And I think it's imperative that we do that. I really, really do. Josh Wearing here says, smash the like button for Terry and the channel. Thank you very much, Josh. I appreciate you tuning in and supporting the show tonight. I really, really do. Look, I want to thank everybody that has tuned in. It means a great deal to us that you've tuned in to watch. Leave your comments below. That would be brilliant if you could do it. And look, as I said earlier, if you like what I'm doing, I'll speak to Mark. Maybe I'm back again next week. I don't know, right? It's not like I've signed a 2-year contract or anything. I don't know what's going on, but I'll hopefully be back again on the United Stand soon. Come and check my channel out. We had a really good podcast tonight. I'd love some of you to come and give your opinions on, even some feedback on the channel as well. What can we do better? What do you like about it? So go and check out the Football Terrace right now. Go and give us a subscription as well. Until next time, people, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.